bit about Nana and about parts of her life. Paige is going to play a video clip, and it's a clip of Nana's 70th birthday that was held in Awarua. You might recognise a few people. A few people had a bit more hair than they do currently. So I'll just wait for the clip to play.
Oh, who's that?
That's proof that all you need is a puddle and a stick, and kids can be entertained for hours. Auntie Lucky.
Just for the picture.
In Awarua. So today, as I said, I'm going to be talking a little bit about Nana and her life. So Te Ako Wynyard was born in Pipiwai on the 29th of August 1914 to Rose Edina Armstrong and Haniora Wynyard. Rose Edina Armstrong is known as Granny, and that's who's seated, and I believe that's Uncle Ben that she's holding. So Gani and Hamiora. So Gani, her parents were Robert Whitsard Armstrong and Hariata Epiraima from Kaiko. So that's a picture of Gani's dad, and then the girl in the middle is Gani's sister Louisa, who died as a teenager, and that's Gani standing on the right hand side. So if you look at that picture, we're actually Pākehās. So from what I've been told, Gani was a small, quiet woman. The next photo is on the left-hand side is Auntie Mary, and that's Uncle Sonny's wife, Auntie Mary, and Gani in the middle, and then Nana on the right-hand side. And the photo on the right, that's Gani and her husband Manga. His name was Apirahama Hone Niha, and that's who Manga of Uncle Wallace's is named after. So Gani and Manga were married on the 16th of August 1958 at Marumaku. And my sister Te Aho has a story about Gani and Manga. So she's a school teacher, she's our principal, and she had been working at a school for a couple of years, and one day she kind of went into a classroom and she noticed a photo on the wall that she hadn't seen before, and she said, "What's that photo doing here?" And the teacher said, "Oh, that's hung there for the last 10 years. We don't know who it is, but every morning we say, oh, kia ora Nanny, kia ora Papa," and it was that photo. That photo of Gani and Manga had hung in the Kaikoura intermediate school for 10 years, and they didn't know, who they were. And so Te Aho explained, well, that's actually my great-grandparents, and it was, they've been looking over the kids at that school for a long time. So in a little bit I'll talk to you, or we'll hear a little bit about what Gani was like, but just a little bit about Manga. So Nana's stepfather, Manga. Uncle Wallace had written a little piece about him, and Shelley had sent it through. And Uncle Wallace said that, so we avoided Manga as children as he went about his work running a very efficient dairy farm. He had been a soldier in the Great War, and he carried himself as if on the parade ground, straight and tall. He was a man to be respected and a little feared. He seldom smiled. At the dinner table, he sat at the head and woe betide anyone who did not practice the most formal of table etiquette. Only he would slice the meat or loaf of bread, every slice uniform and perfect. So that's just a little bit about what our great-grandfather Manga was like. So the photo on the left is Nana, Manga, Gani, and Nana's sister Irina, and on the right is Gani in her older years. So Gani lived to be 80 years old. She died in 1971 and is buried at Ngā Tairua Wāhi here in Papiwai. So Nana's dad, Hamiora Wynyard, was from Mototau. As we talked the other day, according to one old tradition, Hamiora was the grandson of Robert Henry Wynyard, so that's Hamiora, and he was the grandson of Robert Henry Wynyard, the acting governor of New Zealand in 1854 to 1855, and he actively fought against Kawiti at the Battle of Ruapekapeka. So that's our Nana's great-grandfather. So again, we're Pākehā people. So because of his stunts at the Battle of Ruapekapeka, many of his descendants wanted to distance themselves from him and change their surnames from Wynyard to Henare. To my knowledge, Nana never did that, so she always referred to herself, her maiden name was Wynyard, and she always wrote her name as Te Aho Wynyard. So one of the first people to distance themselves from the Wynyard name was Hamiora's older brother, Tauhenare. He was a member of Parliament from 1914 to 1938, and it's him who this whare is named after. So Tauhenare's son was Sir James Henare, or Tahimi Henare. He was Nana's first cousin. he's the person that famously said, "We have come too far not to go further. We have done too much not to do more." And Nana was always proud of her association with Tahimi and the fact that that was her first cousin. And Sir James Henari's grandson is the current Labour Party MP, Penny Henare. So Penny is our third cousin, so that's another whānau connection we have in Parliament. So as we heard on Saturday, Hāmiota was killed when he was 37 years old. There was a non-disclosure agreement surrounding the circumstances of his death and the punishment or lack of punishment received by those who were responsible. But the last time I went to Mōtatau Marae, I asked, where's the photo of Hāmiota on the wall? So I noticed that there was no photo of him. And I was told that they were refurbishing some of the frames, and so his was one of the ones taken down. And then the kaumātua kind of told me about the circumstances of his death and what had happened. So maybe the limitation period on that non-disclosure agreement has finally come to an end, and maybe it's time for us as his descendants to, be talking about him and reminiscing about what happened to him in his life. So from what I understand, Gani and Hāmiota were primarily subsistence farmers. They grew produce and milk cows that they consumed mostly themselves, but they supplemented their income through selling the milk. And at the time of his death, Hāmiota's job was to collect the cans of cream from the other farms and put them out to be collected by the milk truck. And the story goes that one day he forgot, a certain family, he forgot to collect their cream can and the cream went sour. And so it was that family who one day set upon him and beat him, and it was as a result of that beating that he lost his life. I suppose the scandalous part of it is that that family was quite a prominent family in the community at that time, and one of their sons was destined to be an All Black. And so to save that son from being prosecuted, a deal was struck that if they would move out of the area, and if they would provide certain things, that it wouldn't be taken further. So that's kind of the circumstances surrounding our great-grandfather's death. So Nana was Gani's third child and her second child to Hāmiota. So that's Nana on the left-hand side. The oldest of her siblings was Uncle Ben Armstrong. So he's the father of those green-eyed Armstrongs that we referred to on Saturday. Uncle Ben was born in 1908 and died in 1998, so he was 90 years old when he died. We've just got a short video clip of Uncle Ben talking about what Nana was like when she was a young child.
We had a bit of my sister, your mother, was a good girl. To cover her up, she was a good girl. She wasn't as bad as our
Yep, so Nana was a good girl and she wasn't as bad as her older sister. So her older sister, or the oldest girl in their family, was Erina Wynyard, and she's known as Auntie Titi. And she was 2 years older than Nana. Auntie Titi married Lopere Tipene, and her family mostly settled in Cambridge. So if you hear of the Tipenes down in Cambridge, those are the descendants of Auntie Titi. So on the photo on the far left, that's Auntie Titi standing and Nana sitting on the chair. And then again Auntie Titi seated and Nana standing there in the middle, and that's the two of them together in their older years. Auntie Titi died on the 11th of September 1980, so she was 68 years old at the time of her death. Then 3 years after Nana was born, her youngest brother, Hori Wynyard, known as Sonny Henare, came along. So there's pictures of Uncle Sonny. in this photo on the right-hand side, I always kind of find it interesting that it's almost as if the photo is focused on that 2-litre bottle of cream on the table. That's the focus of dinner time. So Uncle Sonny was a well-known sportsman, and if anyone's been following Raywyn's lives that she's been posting over the course of the reunion, the other day she interviewed Uncle Pa, and he talked about how Uncle Sonny was this famous sports person, so famous in fact that at 73 he was still playing rugby, and he played at the same time as both his son and his grandsons. So still taking the field at 73 years of age. And here's a little video clip of what Uncle Sonny had to say about what Nana was like.
Two sisters are totally different. Older sister, she was good. I have nothing to do with my older sister. But she was sort of different. She followed our pocket and you know, you got to give a doctor. They expect everybody to do what she wanted, not like this or that. From one of the sisters named like our mother. Our mother was humble.
That's a nice endorsement. Nana was humble, just like Granny. So as you know, Nana was married to Waimate, and at one stage, her brother, Uncle Sonny, was married to Waimate's sister, Auntie Waka. Bit of scandal. So just in terms of the world that Nana was born into, there are probably a couple of things that influenced what life was like for her. So firstly, by the 1900s, New Zealand was very much a British colony, and Māori at that stage had been subdued in the face of massive land loss, introduced diseases and poverty, and had declined significantly in numbers and power. So Nana was born into a changing world where the politics of the time was very much about assimilating Māori culture into Pākehā culture, giving up our traditional beliefs and adopting Pākehā ways and ideals. And we always refer to these graphics. So on the top, it showed that in 1860, Māori land was owned 80% by Māori. We still owned, 80% of all the land. But by 1910, which is just a few years before Nana was born, Māori only owned 27% of the land. And so that's kind of an indication of how the society that Nana was born into had changed. The other influencing factor about the world she was born into was also that just 25 days before Nana was born, Great Britain declared war on Germany and the First World War began. So within a month of that, New Zealand troops occupied Western Samoa, which was a German territory at the time, and within 2 months, New Zealand troops were being sent to the other side of the world. So Nana's early years were affected by wartime restrictions. The next thing I want to talk about is just her school days. So Nana went to school at Te Horo School. The top picture is what the school looked like in 1920. And then the bottom pictures are photos from the Te Horo School reunion that she attended. She was very happy to go and meet up with some of her classmates and the people that she went to school with. I remember Nana telling me that she really liked school, but she only went up to standard 3, which is quite funny considering how many of her descendants became school teachers. But 2 things came from her schooling days and continued throughout her life. And the first one was her writing. So Nana had the most beautiful writing. It was even, it was uniform, it was neat and tidy. Even after she had had a stroke, her hand was a little bit shaky, but her writing continued to be neat and tidy. The other thing that continued from her school days is that Nana had a keen interest in nature. She would watch nature programs and even go to the library to get books about birds and insects and nature. And she always used to talk to us about, the shining cuckoo and how they migrate from Siberia and all of that kind of stuff. And I was saying to Auntie Wen that one day I Googled it, and there's no birds that migrate to New Zealand from Siberia. So I'm not sure what she was reading, probably an American-based book or something, but she believed that they migrated from Siberia. When Nana finished school, she got a job at the Finlaysons' home on Ormodi Road, which is down the road a little bit. And I understand that she was a maid there. In her journal, she wrote about her job, but all she said was, interesting things happened there. So who knows what that means. And she also wrote about two of her friends from around that time. One was Edith Palmer, who incidentally was one of Waimati's girlfriends at that stage. And Louis Tairua was the other one of her good friends. So when Nana was 15, she was Tomotu Paraika Tipene, and they were married on the 2nd of July 1930. I have to admit that I don't really know anything about Paraika, so what I've done is I've enlisted an expert to talk to us about that part of Nana's life.
Kia ora everybody. Sorry I can't be all with you at this time during the reunion. To those that don't know me, my name is Joel Tipene. I'm the daughter of Charlie Tipene, who is the second child of Paraika Tipene and Te Ahua Umiad. A few days ago I got a message from Cousin Roz, and I looked at it and I was blown away and felt quite privileged. Cousin Roz asked me if I would do a kōrero on the life of Paraika Tipene, of Krani Paraika and Nana Manu. There wasn't a lot of information, and over the years my father spoke a bit about his life in Mototo and his parents, and he wrote in his journal about this. So a lot of my information is from my father's journals. I took the opportunity to message our cousin Mita, whose farm is where our grandparents lived. And he directed me to Auntie Mere Prime, and what was a few questions I thought I was going to ask her ended up as an hour and a half conversation, and I promised that when I returned home I would go and visit her. And so this is where we start the journey of our grandparents, Paraika Tipene and Te Ahua Umiad. So Roz also asked if I could do a little kōrero about Paraika's family, where they came from, who they were. So I guess that is where I will begin this kōrero. Auntie Mere and I, as we spoke about Paraika's pepeha. So this is the pepeha that was given to me. Ko Mototo te maunga, ko Takirau te awa. Ko Manukoro ki te whare tupuna. Ko Ngāti te Tarawa te hapu. Ko Ngāti Hine te iwi, ki roto o ngā puhi nui tonu. Ko te piha tōku matua no ngā tipene. Ko Maraia tono riri, tōku mama no ngā kini. Ko Paraika ahau. Paraika was born on the 23rd of October 1907. It's quite a date for me because my son Charlie was also born on that day, many years after. He was born near Waimahai Marae, which is near the foot of Mototo Maunga, but from the Mototo side. He was born to Te Piha Tipene and Maraia Tonoriri Kingi. So Auntie Maria Zabriskie was named after her. He grew up on his farm, on family farm in Horahora, which is on Horahora Road. Te Piha and Maria had 8 children. Moingaro Te Piha Tipene, so Auntie Molly, was named after her. The second child, a boy, Te Rata Tipene. The third was Paraika Te Piha Tipene. His name has been remembered through our whānau for decades, and there are family members who carry his name. Hepi Moanariki Ben Tipene was the 4th child, and then the 5th was Toeke Joe Tipene. Hapurola Tipene, and then Mai Te Piha Tipene, and Lua Motutara Tipene. She was only 3 years old when she passed away. Paraika died on the farm due to tuberculosis and was buried at Tumutumu Wahitapu in Mototau. On his father's Te Piha side, 4 generations back, Paraika whakapapa to a well-known rangatira o Pipiwai Matawai and Mototau called Mataroria Pakiwaha. He was a great warrior who often fought as the right-hand man to his uncle Kawiti. Mataroria fought in many campaigns, including the Musket and Land Wars. On his mother Maria Tonoriri Kingi side, 5 generations back, he whakapapa to Kawiti through his daughter Tuwahininu. Kawiti, or the Duke as known by the British, was a prominent chief of Ngāti Hine and fought in the Battle of Ruapekapeka. He also helped his whanaunga, Honiheke, cut down the flagpole in Russell by causing a diversion while Honiheke was able to cut it down. So the life of Krani Paraika and Nana Te Ahua. The photo that we've put up is a photo of them together. This may be the only photo taken of the two. Dad's kōrero to us was Nana wanted to go to Pipiwai to be with her mother, and Krani Paraika was trying to convince her to stay. It wasn't a convincing argument, I believe, on both sides by the photo taken, because they look like they were just sitting in silence. So this is what I got from my father's journals. Was it a love story or was it an arranged marriage that ended up a love story? Whatever the reason, I am here because of the story. My mother was born on the 29th of August 1914 to Niha Hamiora Henare Wynyard and Rose Eleanor Armstrong. She was the 3rd of 4 children, 2 boys and 2 girls. Of the girls, my mother wasn't the favoured of the 2. However, because of her nature, it didn't worry her. Both girls were very pretty, and their dad wanted his daughters to marry good, respected, handsome young men. So he chose me and contacted them and made arrangements with their parents of the boys for a tomo, arranged marriage, and soon after they were married. My mother and dad were married with another young couple, George Sherrington and May Henare Wynyard, at Mototau Marae on the 2nd of July 1930. Dad was about 23 and Mum 16. My mother was married at a young age and a widow by the age of 24 after 8.5 years of marriage and 7 children. My mother was respected by the people of Mototau even to this day, which was written in 2009. She must have been a great woman, for I believe she is a wonderful mother to have and look after that many kids at a very young age, and she must have been an incredible person. The passing away of our dad must have been a big blow to her. She left Mototau soon after the passing away of Dad and settled back in Pipiwai. Although my mother had a big family, she was still pretty as ever. Waimati Wihungi fell in love with my mother and became her husband soon after. I started my happy life on the 24th of October 1932. I was born, this is my dad, Charlie. I was born at Kaukaua Hospital. I am the second child of Paraika Tipene Te Ahu Ulumian. Mum said 2 days before I was born, she rode her horse from our house in Mototo up through her cousin Sir James Henare's farm near Mototo Marae, over the hills to Waioomio, where she stayed with Dad's oldest sister, Moingaroa, who married Hirini Reihana. That was a distance of 22 miles, all by herself. Dad could not go with her as he had to stay and take care of the farm. Then after having me, she made the trek back to Mototo on horseback with her baby to be welcomed by Dad, Henry and the farmer in Mototo. I'm so sorry, cousins, this is making me a bit tearful. I was the second child of a family of 7 from my mother's first marriage. We lived in a humble but comfortable home in Mototo. Although our happy lifetime ended suddenly with the passing away of my dad, we managed to pick up ourselves with Mum and never looked back. Credit must go to my grandfather Tapiha and Mangaingani. They were a big help to my mother, who only at that time was 24 and 7 young children. Life must have been grim for her. I was barely 7 years old when my dad passed away. I guess I should add a little about what I know about my father, so my children and Mukapuna would know of him and the great loss I have felt over the years for my dad. I want them to know the man their grandfather was, even though he had a short life. My dad was a tall, handsome man. He was hard-working and very humble. He was a quiet man, a family man, and definitely the kind of man I wanted to model my life after. My dad worked hard for his family, community, and people. I believe when Dad got married, his dad, Tapiha, was such an organised man that he already divided his farm to meet the needs of his entire family. At no stage during my dad and Mum's marriage did I hear family squabble over land. So Mum and Dad lived happily on the land given to them. I can't remember them arguing or saying any harsh words to us or each other. I remember going around the farm on horse behind my dad, and Henry would be in the front. As we went around the farm, he would speak quietly and humbly about our tupuna, teaching us about life on the farm. I wish I could have had more time with him, but Henry Father had other plans. Being a farmer myself, now I look back some 50 years ago, my dad must have been a good patient farmer, milking about 30 cows by hand and delivering the cream on horseback some 3 miles over swamp road and some rough terrain. Life must have been very tough, but again I never heard my dad nor my mum complain once. All farm work was done manually with only help was a horse, plough and scoop. As our farm comprised of flat country, a lot was swamp, which my dad had to dig huge drains by hand and shovel, and Henry and I at young age would help him. Mum was pregnant a lot, so she spent a lot of her time at our humble home, making sure we had food and a clean house to come home to after a hard day of work. Henry and I started our education in Pipiwai at Te Horo Native School. As over home in Mototo was quite isolated, Mum and Dad decided that Henry, my older brother, and I should go and live with Mangaingani Roa in Pipiwai so we can be closer to go to school. As I recall, that this worked quite well during the school breaks, and my dad would ride from Maramaku Wilderness, now known as Patutahi, to pick us up and take us back home to Mum and return us when school started again. Manga at the time was strict, man, but Gani was choice. She was our lifesaver. She was kind to Henry and I, and we were always happy with Gani. Gani always saw that we ate plenty and that we were warm, clean and tidy. Henry and I enjoyed our school, but we also loved returning home to our dad and Mum in Mototo. I don't remember much about the time our dad passed away from tuberculosis. It all seems vague. But I know through the years there has always been an empty place in my heart. A longing to see him again. A longing to have spent more time with him. When Dad passed away, my sisters Malaya and Molly, or Moingaroa, and I stayed and lived with our grandfather Te Piha in Mototo. My younger brother Hori also stayed in Mototo with my grandfather's sister Arapira Praima and her daughter Kawa. By then I could ride a horse, so I carried on my education in Mototo. Our grandfather Te Piha saw to it that I had the best of everything, not that he favoured me, but because I was the one going to school. And he wanted me to progress in my education without being hindered by any other ones. I enjoyed the riding to school, I guess about 12 miles every day on horseback. My uncle Little Ben gave me his horse Te Waka. It was a bit of a thoroughbred horse. Gani Te Piha was a wonderful man. He baked delicious Madeira cakes for my lunch. I still today love Madeira cake, and I think it reminds me of my time living with Gani Te Piha. I get Huria, Joel and Kim to buy me one from town, and it is nice but not the same as Gani Te Piha's one. I used to go everywhere with Gani Te Piha on his horse, and it reminded me of Henare and I riding with our father. On the 31st of December 1943 was another sad day for me as my Gani Te Piha passed away. Again my heart broke, and another humble, caring man passed away in the space of 6 years. Two very significant men returned to our Heavenly Father and left me once again with a broken heart. There were 7 children of Kalaika Tipene and Te Ahua Wynyard. The first, Henare Mototo Tipene, who was aged 8 years old when his father died. Then there was me, Charlie Tipene. I was aged 6 years and 8 months when our father died. Then there was Mariah. She was aged 5 years and 8 months when our father died, passed away. And then Wiremu Paraika Tipene. He was 4 years old, 4 years and 2 months when our father passed. Then Moinga Roa Tipene, who was 2 years and 7 months when our dad passed. Hoani Paraika Tipene, he was 1 year and 1 month when dad died. And then Hemi Paraika Tipene was 22 days old when he passed away. Whānau, this is the writings and the stories that of our Kirani Paraika from my father, Charlie. I hope that it's been interesting to you all, and I hope I have done his story and our Kirani Paraika justice in my kōrero. Love you all, and I have a lot of whakapapa and genealogy of Paraikas, and if any of you want some, please don't hesitate to contact me. I love you all, and I hope that the reunion will forge a lot of connections, links, and love for our whānau. And once again, I'd like to thank Roz for giving me the opportunity to speak on behalf of our Kirani Paraika and our Nana as they lived in Mototo, in their life in Mototo, in their life before he passed away. Kia ora.